If your foot caused you to stumble, cut it off. If your eye caused you to stumble, pluck it out. That's pretty drastic. I don't think that Jesus is calling us to begin lopping off body parts. I don't think that's what he's trying to get across here. I think what Jesus is trying to say here is whatever it is that's causing the problem, cut that thing out of your life. How do I keep from allowing those feelings, those thoughts of shame start creeping back into my life again? I want to give you some things that we can do, some actions that we can take to help us with that. And I recognize as I'm talking to you this morning, as people are watching online, there may be several of us here this morning like, I'm not struggling with that right now. And if you're not struggling with shame or having feelings of going back to feelings, desire to go back to feelings of shame that you had in the past, praise God for that. I'm glad you're set free from that. I don't want that for you. But if that's where you are this morning, if you're struggling with feelings of shame, let me offer you some messages of hope this morning. And I would almost guarantee that there is somebody in your workplace, somebody in your neighborhood, somebody in your family that is wrestling, that is struggling to experience the freedom from shame that Christ came to give us. So what can I do? How do I keep from going back to shame? How do I keep from allowing shame to be the master of my heart and my thoughts again? First thing I need to do is probably need to create some boundaries for myself. I need to create some boundaries for myself. If I want to keep from going back and experiencing these feelings of shame again, there's probably some boundaries I need to create. I don't know how many of you have been to a zoo before in your lifetime. I've been to a handful of them. I've been to the Tulsa Zoo. I've been to the Little Rock Zoo. I think there's one other one that I might have been to at some point in my life. And one thing that you notice, and even if you haven't ever been to a zoo, you've probably seen videos of it or something like that. But when you go and see like the big cats, like the lions and the tigers, they're these majestic animals, and they're out in their man-made habitat looking thing that's supposed to make them feel like they're in the jungle, but they're out there, kind of hanging out and doing their thing. And I'm over here looking at them. And you know what's between us? A big empty space. And maybe, it's like a giant concrete pit that's all around their area between me and them. And maybe it's filled with water and maybe it's not. But that is designed so that they can't get to me and I can't get to them. There might even be some railing and a fence and there's some distance. We're going to make sure that lion can't come over here and get me. There is a boundary that is set between me and him. Why? So that I don't get devoured. Plain and simple, right? So that thing doesn't attack me and take over me and eat me up. There is a boundary there. And I share that with you, remind you of that, because I think that's what some of us may need in our lives to help us let go of these feelings of shame and not be conquered by them again. That we need to make some changes in our lives, to change maybe some habits, to take hold of some different actions, recognizing the things that we have done that have caused us to feel those feelings of shame in the first place. Some of us may be struggling with this feeling of being unworthy and being not measuring up because of choices that we made in our finances. We gotten ourselves in a whole bunch of really dumb debt, and we don't feel bad just about the debt itself, but about ourselves. And there's some changes that we need to make so we don't experience that again. Some of us experience shame because of our addictions and our habits. And maybe it's an alcohol addiction, and maybe it's a pornography addiction, and maybe it's something else that we just can't seem to let go of. And when we do let go of it, we still have these feelings of shame that want to creep back into our lives. And we got to change those habits. What was it that caused me to feel the shame in the first place? I don't need to go back there again. For some of us, it may be a physical affair. It may be an emotional affair that we have with someone that we're not married to. For some of us, the shame comes from how we treated somebody else. We caused someone else to feel awful about themselves, and now I feel awful about myself, and I feel shame from that. And if I receive forgiveness and grace, through Jesus and have been set free from that, then I don't need to go back and mistreat that person again. There's changes that I might need to make in my actions, my attitudes, so that I don't experience that shame again. There's some boundaries I need to make. Jesus even says sometimes we got to get really drastic, right? In Mark chapter 9, Jesus, in verses 43 to 47, Jesus says, if your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. If your foot caused you to stumble, cut it off. If your eye caused you to stumble, pluck it out. That's pretty drastic. I don't think that Jesus is calling us to begin lopping off body parts. I don't think that's what he's trying to get across here. I think what Jesus is trying to say here is whatever it is that's causing the problem, cut that thing out of your life. Cut it out. Be done with it. Set up a boundary so that you're not devoured by it again. And not only that you're not devoured by that particular action, that particular addiction, that particular habit, but you're not devoured by the guilt and the shame that comes with it. Make a drastic change. I may need to cut up some credit cards. I may need to change or walk away from a friendship or a relationship. I may need to put some kind of app or some kind of control on my computer so that I don't go to websites that I don't need to be going to. They're going to cause me to feel shame again. I may need to hand my phone to my spouse when I come home at the end of the day so that I don't go on social media or on websites that I don't need to go to. They're going to cause me to feel feelings of shame again. Get drastic. Set the boundary.